I never expected to find my boss, the untouchable CEO of Meridian Technologies, slumped against the wall outside a downtown bar at 2 a.m., mascara streaking down her face, designer heels dangling from her fingertips. "Take me home," she whispered, her voice breaking, "or you're fired." Little did I know she wasn't just my intimidating boss that night. She was a woman at her breaking point, carrying a secret that would change both our lives forever. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that explore the unexpected connections we make in life. The night had started normally enough. I was celebrating my colleague's birthday at Velvet, a trendy bar downtown that I couldn't typically afford on my entry-level marketing salary. 6 months into my job at Meridian Technologies, I was still trying to prove myself worthy of the position. My friends had finally convinced me to let loose for once, to stop checking work emails every 5 minutes. "James, you need to relax," my friend Miguel said, sliding another drink toward me. "The company won't collapse if you take one night off." I laughed, but my eyes still darted to my phone. Meridian was preparing for a major product launch, and as the newest member of the marketing team, I felt constant pressure to prove my worth. Our CEO, Victoria Reeves, had a reputation for demanding excellence and showing zero tolerance for mistakes. At 35, she had built Meridian from a startup to a tech powerhouse, earning both admiration and fear from everyone in the industry. I had only interacted with Victoria a handful of times, each encounter leaving me tongue-tied and anxious. She was brilliant, intimidatingly beautiful, and completely unapproachable. The office rumors painted her as cold, calculating, and possibly incapable of human emotion. The Ice Queen, they called her behind her back. "Earth to James," Miguel waved his hand in front of my face. "You're thinking about work again, aren't you?" I was about to deny it when I spotted her across the bar. Victoria Reeves, in a black cocktail dress, sitting alone at the bar counter. I nearly choked on my drink. "What's wrong?" Miguel followed my gaze. "Holy shit, is that your boss?" It was indeed Victoria, but not the composed, authoritative CEO I knew from the office. Her shoulders were slumped, and she was staring into her glass with an intensity that suggested she was trying not to cry. I watched as she downed her drink and immediately signaled the bartender for another. "I should go say hello," I said, standing up. Miguel grabbed my arm. "Are you insane? It's your night off. She doesn't look like she wants company." But something about her vulnerability pulled at me. I had never seen Victoria look anything less than perfectly put together. This woman at the bar, with her guard down, seemed like someone else entirely. "I'll just check if she's okay," I insisted. As I approached, Victoria looked up, and for a moment, I saw panic flash across her face before she composed herself. "Mr. Bennett," she said, her voice slightly slurred. "What a surprise." "Ms. Reeves," I replied awkwardly. "I just wanted to make sure everything was all right." She laughed, a hollow sound that held no humor. "Everything is perfect, as always." She raised her glass in a mock toast. Just celebrating another successful day of being Victoria Reeves. I should have walked away then. Should have rejoined my friends and left her to her privacy. But the bitterness in her voice made me stay. "Would you like some company?" I asked. She studied me for a long moment, her eyes slightly unfocused. "Why? Looking to score some points with the boss?" "No," I said honestly. "You just looked like you could use a friend." Something in her expression softened. "A friend," she repeated, as if testing an unfamiliar word. "I don't have many of those." I sat beside her, and for the next hour, we talked. Not about work or the upcoming product launch, but about music, books, and places we'd traveled. Victoria was funny and insightful when she wasn't playing the role of CEO. She had a dry wit that made me laugh, and when she smiled, really smiled, it transformed her face completely. As the night progressed, she drank more, and her carefully constructed walls began to crumble. I learned that her father had been a famous tech entrepreneur who had never believed in her abilities. That she had fought twice as hard as any man to be taken seriously in the industry. That despite her success, a recent board meeting had questioned her leadership because she wasn't aggressive enough in their latest acquisition. "Do you know what it's like," she asked, her words slightly slurred, "to be told you're simultaneously too emotional and not emotional enough? Too aggressive and not aggressive enough? Too feminine and not feminine enough?" I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. "They want me to be perfect," she continued. "And I've spent my entire life trying to be. Perfect grades, perfect career, perfect appearance." She laughed bitterly. "And what do I have to show for it? An empty apartment and a drinking problem I hide from everyone." The vulnerability in her admission stunned me. This was the woman who terrified board members and competitors alike, confessing her deepest insecurities to me, her junior marketing employee. As the bar announced last call, Victoria stood up abruptly and swayed on her feet. I reached out to steady her, and she leaned against me more heavily than I expected. "I should get you home," I said. "Let me call you a car." "No," she said firmly. "No cars. No drivers who will gossip to the press about the drunk CEO." "Then let me walk you home," I offered. "Is your apartment nearby?" She shook her head, then winced at the movement. "Too far. And I can't go there tonight." I didn't understand what she meant, but it was clear she was in no condition to be alone. "I live just a few blocks from here," I said hesitantly. "You could crash on my couch if you need to." Victoria looked at me with an unreadable expression. "Why are you being kind to me, James? What do you want?" The question caught me off guard. "Nothing," I said. "I just want to make sure you're safe." She studied my face as if searching for deception, then nodded slowly. "Okay." We left the bar together, Victoria leaning heavily against me. Outside, the cool night air seemed to hit her hard. She stumbled, nearly falling to the ground. I managed to catch her and guide her to a nearby wall where she could steady herself. That's when it happened. Victoria looked up at me, mascara smudged beneath her eyes, vulnerability written across her face. "Take me home," she whispered, her voice breaking, "or you're fired." Even in her vulnerable state, she couldn't fully let go of her power, her control. But I heard the plea beneath the command. This wasn't my boss speaking, this was a woman at her breaking point. "Come on," I said gently, offering my arm. "Let's get you somewhere safe." The walk to my apartment was slow and mostly silent. Victoria seemed lost in her thoughts, occasionally mumbling something I couldn't quite catch. When we finally reached my building, I felt a wave of embarrassment. My apartment was small and modest, nothing like what Victoria must be used to. "Sorry about the mess," I said as I unlocked the door. I wasn't expecting company. Victoria didn't seem to notice or care about the state of my apartment. She sank onto my couch and closed her eyes. "Thank you," she murmured. I brought her water and some aspirin, which she accepted gratefully. As she drank, I noticed her hands trembling slightly. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Is there someone I should call for you?" She shook her head. "There's no one," she said quietly. "That's the problem." I sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. "Do you want to talk about it?" Victoria was silent for so long I thought she might have fallen asleep. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Today was my wedding anniversary." I blinked in surprise. I had no idea Victoria was married. There had never been any mention of a husband in company discussions or media profiles. "I didn't know you were married," I said carefully. "I'm not. Not anymore." She twisted a phantom ring on her finger. "He died 3 years ago today." The pain in her voice was raw, unfiltered. This wasn't information I was supposed to have, Not as her employee, not as anyone. "I'm so sorry," I said, the words feeling inadequate. "Everyone thinks I'm cold," she continued, as if I hadn't spoken. "The Ice Queen. They think I care about nothing but the company. But they don't know that I built it for him. With him. And now he's gone, and all I have left is this company that everyone expects me to run perfectly." Tears slipped down her cheeks, and she made no move to wipe them away. "I couldn't go home tonight. Our home. I just couldn't face those empty rooms again. Not today." I didn't know what to say, so I simply offered my presence. Sometimes, that's all anyone needs, someone to witness their pain without trying to fix it. Eventually, Victoria fell asleep on my couch. I covered her with a blanket and retreated to my bedroom, my mind reeling from the night's revelations. The woman sleeping in my living room was nothing like the CEO I thought I knew. She was human, broken, and carrying a grief that she hid from the world. Morning came too quickly. I woke to the sound of movement in my kitchen and found Victoria, looking surprisingly put together despite the night before, making coffee. "Good morning," she said, her voice formal and controlled once more. The vulnerability of the previous night was gone, replaced by her usual composed demeanor. "I hope you don't mind. I found your coffee." "Not at all," I replied, unsure how to act. Was I supposed to pretend last night never happened? Victoria handed me a cup of coffee. "About last night," she began, her eyes not quite meeting mine. "I apologize for my behavior. It was unprofessional and inappropriate." "There's no need to apologize," I said. "We all have difficult days. Nevertheless," she continued, "I put you in an uncomfortable position. And I shared things I shouldn't have." I took a sip of coffee, gathering my thoughts. "Ms. Reeves, Victoria, whatever you shared with me stays between us. I would never betray your confidence." She studied me, as if trying to determine if I was telling the truth. "Why?" she asked finally. "You could use this information. Office gossip about the CEO's breakdown would certainly make you popular." "Because that's not who I am," I said simply. "And because everyone deserves space to be human, even CEOs." Something shifted in her expression, a softening around the eyes, perhaps. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For last night. For listening. For not taking advantage." "Anytime," I replied, meaning it. Victoria finished her coffee and set the cup down carefully. "I should go. I have a company to run." The mask was sliding back into place, but not completely. There was a new openness to her expression that hadn't been there before. At the door, she paused. "James?" "Yes?" "Would you be interested in joining the product launch strategy meeting this afternoon? I think your perspective could be valuable." I tried not to show my surprise. Junior marketing associates didn't get invited to high-level strategy meetings. "I'd be honored," I said. Victoria nodded. "Good. And perhaps—" She hesitated, showing a rare moment of uncertainty, "perhaps we could get coffee sometime. To discuss your career goals." I recognized the olive branch for what it was, not just a professional opportunity, but a tentative step toward friendship. "I'd like that," I said. As Victoria left my apartment, returning to her role as the formidable CEO of Meridian Technologies, I realized that the night had changed something fundamental between us. I had seen beyond the carefully constructed image to the real woman beneath, a woman who had loved and lost, who carried her grief silently while facing a world that expected perfection. And she had seen me too, not just as an employee, but as someone who could be trusted with her vulnerability. In the months that followed, Victoria and I developed an unusual friendship. Professional boundaries remained in place at work, but occasionally we would meet for coffee or dinner, talking about books, life, and gradually, her late husband Michael. She shared photos of him, stories of their time building the company together, and slowly began to reconnect with the joy those memories held, not just the pain of his absence. I learned that grief doesn't follow a timeline, that healing isn't linear, and that sometimes the strongest people are those who have been broken and found a way to continue. Victoria taught me about resilience, about facing your demons instead of running from them, and about the courage it takes to be vulnerable in a world that rewards only strength. A year after that night, Victoria stood on stage at our annual company meeting, confident and commanding as always. But when she spoke, there was a new authenticity to her words. Meridian was built on a foundation of human connection, she told the assembled employees. Not just technological innovation, but the belief that technology should bring people together, not isolate them. This past year has reminded me of that mission in profound ways. Her eyes found mine in the crowd, and she smiled slightly before continuing. Sometimes strength isn't about never falling. It's about who helps you stand back up when you do. I knew then that both of us had been changed by that night, the night my CEO whispered, "Take me home or you're fired," the night I discovered she wasn't just my boss, but a woman carrying a grief too heavy to bear alone. The night that taught me that everyone, no matter how powerful they seem, needs someone to witness their humanity. Sometimes the most unexpected connections become the most meaningful. Sometimes the people we think we know are hiding depths we can't imagine. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment of genuine kindness to change the course of two lives forever.